It's time for the show that brings the magic right to your speakers. Ears up!
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Ears Up Podcast. This is for one of our shows for November, but as the Spanish say, Noviembre. Noviembre.
Is that what they say?
Well, they say a lot of words, but mainly,
that's one of them.
When speaking about the month, they say Noviembre.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't take Spanish. I don't know.
Really? What did you take in school?
Sign language.
Oh, really? I took that in 7th grade, and I wish that they.
Wow,
they
she
kept
just
offering
dunked on you, dude. You took it in high school, but she took it in 7th grade.
Well, yeah, that's true, but it wasn't a dunk because I wanted to keep going, and they didn't offer it.
Oh.
Well, once you know all the letters, it's kind of like...
No, it's not the letters. There's like
words.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, everybody. You know, I was... this may not surprise anybody in this room, but one time in elementary school, I was put in the corner.
What?
As a behavioral thing.
Say it ain't so.
And there was a sign language chart with the alphabet. Okay. So I took it upon myself to learn the alphabet.
Okay.
And then that following weekend, I had a Little League game, which I hated doing sport. I hated doing sports. Hated it.
Again.
Did it for 6 years. Hated it.
I didn't know you played baseball for 6 years.
Baseball, soccer.
Really?
Yeah, it's terrible. Oh, I hated every second of it.
Wow. Okay.
It was awful.
Okay.
And then I distinctly remember going up to bat and having some kid in the dugout go, "Well, this is an easy out," like on my team.
Oh, rude.
And so I signed the F word at him.
Nice.
Like I put the bat down on my way from the batter circle to the plate, and I took the time.
I'm not going to say it to you. I'm going to sign it at you.
Right.
You sign the letters?
Yeah.
You know, they just invented it.
There's a hand.
But there's a hand signal. Does the same thing.
Well, look, all
but
right.
everyone would have known what that was,
Right.
and then he would have gotten in more trouble.
He could have done the one from Friends. The what is it?
Yeah.
Friends wasn't around
Oh, that's true.
when I was like 8.
That's a good point. That was what, 86, 87, 80, 85?
Sure, dude.
I'm just trying to figure it out.
No,
Okay.
85. Let's
85?
say let's go with 85.
Okay.
When Friends started?
No, when he was 8 years old.
when he was 8 years
Oh,
old.
right.
Wow, really? I was like almost 2.
Show. We have a good show today, of course. We have a member of an ex-member, I suppose, of the Disney College program on the line here. We'll get her on in a little bit. Her name is Brittany. It's a friend of Terrence's, I believe.
Yeah, she's a listener too. Loves the show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. I'm excited to talk about that because we do have a lot of people, you know, similar age group that maybe want to do that. So we'll learn more about that. We have a movie review from Taryn.
Mm-hmm.
What movie did you do, Taryn?
The Adventures of Ichabod Crane Mr. Toad and Ichabod Crane.
Nice.
Mr. Toad and Ichabod Crane. Is it like a dual feature or something like that?
It is. No, it is Ichabod Crane and Mr. Toad. I think it goes in that order.
I think so, yeah.
Because I'll explain, but I was very confused by the whole thing.
Okay. Fair enough. That's cool. And then I've talked to you guys about it before, or at least I've mentioned it, but I did an interview.
Oh.
For a Business Insider podcast.
Sounds like a big deal.
Called Homeward Bound or something like that. I don't know what it was called.
I used to love that movie.
I was going to say, I liked that movie.
And that just came out, and I was really excited about it, and then I listened to it, and it was the worst piece of garbage I'd ever heard in my entire life. So I'm going to do about 20 minutes on that and kind of basically explaining what happened and my opinion on what happened. And basically they took a lot of what I said out of context and through the power of editing made me sound like a complete tool.
Yes. You're like the entire toolbox.
I think that was actually how I described it to you. I was like, wow, you sound like a tool.
But the beauty of it is that they asked me to record the audio, to record the interview. Right. So I have the audio and I can play it.
Nice.
Perfect.
So I'm going to play it.
Right.
I have 8 clips.
Okay.
They used 15, maybe 10 seconds of my audio.
I didn't even know
and
it was
we
that
spoke
long,
about 2.5 hours. So that just tells you right there, you can't get 2.5 hours of interview distilled down into 10 seconds and have any form of context. You just can't do it.
Exactly.
So anyway, we'll talk about that. Maybe do some Disney news. I don't know. There's some cool stuff to talk about. And, what you going to do.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It'll be a good time. You can find us on social media, all over the social media places. Any feedback on the show goes to Taryn at earsup-podcast.com. Show suggestions, guest suggestions, things to stop doing. I don't know. Goes to Terrence. You can say hi to Bev, and anything else comes to me, Jason, at earsup-podcast.com. Blah, blah, blah. Support us. Do all the things. Steal your friends' phones and subscribe to us. That'd be great.
And then rate us.
And then rate us, yes. By the way, our 5th anniversary show, I've already had to bump up our bandwidth allotment for the month 3 times. This month.
Wow.
Excuse me, that's terrible muting. Yeah, I know. So people are, it is by far, I should just check the numbers right now. I think so far it's our 2nd most popular show.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That we've ever done.
Wow.
People actually sat and listened to 5 hours of us.
Well, I don't know about
crazy.
that, but they may listen to 2.5. But they,
But they
look,
downloaded it.
They made an effort, all right.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty
Just
excited
like we
about that. Yeah, exactly. We, we tried real hard.
You tried, kids.
That's
I'm gonna look
crazy.
at it right now because I'm just curious. I think I sound terrible.
You sound good.
Your your
Do
voice.
I?
You're looking
fine.
good.
Yeah?
You're looking nice. I like your shirt.
My shirt's pretty good,
Dude,
right?
your shirts are so good.
I know, right? Thank you very much. Let's see if I can figure this out.
Awful.
Well, yeah, they're both.
Awful.
It's absolutely terrible, but it's also just glorious.
Well, so they're like Hawaiian shirts, but they're Halloween themed.
They're so good.
Well, I'll tell you what, free plug, creepycompany.com. If you like Halloween as much as I do, go there. They're actually having a sale right now. Wait, that's for November. That's right, October. Let's go October here. I know this is super interesting radio, but I'm very, very curious. Yeah, dude, it is it more than doubled the highest show for last month. I'm not going to tell you because look, if you want numbers, you got to pretend to
It's proprietary information.
pretend to sponsor the show. You know what I'm trying to say? Taryn, do we have any feedback?
We do, actually.
Let's do some feedback here, please.
Okie dokie. So the first one, hey, Ears Up. I've been a regular listener ever since being fascinated by your interview with Mr. Fight of the White Rabbits. I've gone back and listened to quite a few archival episodes as well, with the primary selection motif being any episode with a Spectro Time segment.
That's a good way to listen to the
I
show. I'll
agree.
tell you that
It
right
is.
now.
And then he
I'm
branches.
not offended.
No, me either. And then he branches out from there. In the latest episode, which I would rate a strong 7, but you didn't ask,
No.
you mentioned that some listeners thought the 5th anniversary show was your best to date. This is very timely. I might agree. It moved quickly and was packed with
You might agree.
Might agree. Thinking about
with edutainment. Shout out to the original Epcot. Especially in the segments with Kyle, the former Imagineer. In particular, I had to play Kyle's Fast Pass segment for my wife, who typically doesn't like, quote unquote, listening to people talk, or else she might be a listener too. I took her to Disneyland for her first time when we started dating in 2013, and she was in her mid-30s. Now, after 3 years of marriage, we're on our 3rd year of being annual pass holders. And honestly, if it weren't for Fast Pass, she probably wouldn't have gone a second time. Before Max Pass and before they closed the DCA loophole, we would eagerly cross back and forth between the parks twice as often as we do now to load up on Fast Passes at each gate. So I think what he means is before they shut that off, where you could really only get one at a time.
Got it. Yeah.
With Max Pass, we're at least less stressed out and can breathe a bit more while we're on our way to get her a Michelada with Modelo, not Pacifico. So sure, we're monthly payment annual pass APs, and we use Max Pass, and I guess that means we make the park worse. But damn it, they offer things, so we're going to use them.
Right. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, don't feel bad.
No,
That's for sure.
Everybody else is doing it. Lastly, in this episode, Taryn mentioned she hopes they don't remove Lieutenant Dan from Mission Space. While this did spawn a now legendary Gary Sinus bit from Jason, I must regretfully inform you that he has in fact already been replaced.
Oh, no.
However, Gina Torres does a fine job in his stead.
But does she sound like this? I'm Gary Sinus. Where is
Oh my God, my side hurts.
the food cart?
Broken.
I had literally forgotten all about
About the
this.
Gary
Yeah, me
Sinus.
too. And then I read it. I was like, oh, legendary. That's pretty cool.
Oh my God. Thanks for the hours, Spencer in Oakland.
You're welcome, Spencer. In
And, oh,
Oakland.
Oaktown.
Oaktown,
Attaboy.
representing. The next one,
Representing what, Terry? What's he representing?
Oakland.
Oh, all right. I didn't know.
Duh.
Maybe he's not from Oakland.
It said
But
from.
maybe he lives in Oakland. Maybe he's not born in Oakland. So maybe he wants to represent
Born and raised in
Paris, Texas.
Okay.
Oh,
Next
wow.
feedback.
Moving on. Next feedback is from Brent. Your churro shirts have incredible powers.
Your churro shirts have incredible powers, Brent.
I think he's being nice.
Oh, thanks, man.
We were at Magic Kingdom in Disney World and asked to purchase one pumpkin-filled churro.
Oh.
The cast member came back with 3 different churros and said they were free because she liked our shirt.
Bro, can this happen to me?
Wait, like what?
I
The
know.
shirts have almost paid for themselves in churros.
This has
Thanks.
happened to more than one person, more than
Yes,
Brent.
I know.
It's never happened to your boy here.
Not
Okay,
either.
there was a chicken line for churros.
A chicken line?
A chick, a lady.
Oh, I heard
Sorry,
chicken.
It's a bunch of
there was a
chickens, dude.
female in line for
Never call
churros who
chicks
saw,
broads.
who saw my churro shirt and was like, "Oh my God, I need your shirt." And I was like, "Oh yeah, churroshirt.com." And then I got in line, and the lady behind there was like, "Yeah, your shirt's great. That'll be $4.75."
Oh, man. Well, good for him. Good for Brent.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Brent.
Okay.
Yeah, you should take that $5 you saved. Sign up on patreon.com/earsup. Finger guns.
There you go.
All right, go ahead, please.
Last one here. We've got Hi, Ears Up crew. Hi, Bev.
Hi.
I wanted to reach out on a couple of things. One, I know I'm slow on the feedback for this, but can I blame mom brain? I wanted to share something that I always like to do when I'm in the park. Every time I visit, I try to get the name of a cast member that I have seen go above and beyond for no reason other than that they're awesome at their job. Sometimes it's as simple as DJ, the guy doing character voices outside Monsters, Inc., or Ben, the PhotoPass photographer that saw me taking pictures of my ear hats for my wedding announcements, offered his skills and took the pictures on my phone so I wouldn't be obligated to buy them. I then stop by City Hall or send an email to Disney when I get home pointing out these people. Each person gets a copy of the feedback to keep, and a copy gets put into their personal files. It's
Oh.
a small way that I feel like I can give back to the park and hopefully let cast members know that we really do appreciate them because we have all seen the way some people treat them.
Yeah.
I
True
thought
that.
that was a super cool idea.
That's
Yeah.
a great
That's
idea.
fantastic.
I like that. And I forget that you can do that, but I just... when I'm in Disneyland, it's all about me and how much I don't want to be there with all the many people that are there.
And also, like, I really, oh man,
I'm so glad we have a podcast.
I'm so glad I'm going to Disneyland with you next week.
That'll be great, and you know it.
I think it's cool because, and I'm even guilty of this in regards to Disneyland of only sending feedback when it's negative. Like
Yeah.
I've only ever written in once, and it was because I had a terrible experience. So, this good on you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like
I
it.
think it's awesome.
I think we should try to do that when we're in the
I
parks
think we
next
should
I
year.
think so
Yeah.
too.
Not a single one of us is going to remember that.
I know.
Dude,
we're
I
gonna-
forgot already. I'm going to send my feedback about Gary Sinan,
Oh my god.
Who prepared me
Stop it.
exquisitely for the trip to Mars. It was very high speed.
Her next point, number 2. I'm sure you will give us an update, but I can't wait to hear about your first experience in the parks as
It
parents.
was terrible.
I have a son just about Alice's age and a husband who can be more cynical than Jason.
I doubt that.
No, seriously.
Did you write this in, Taryn?
Sam.
And we are thinking about taking a
Who's
Disney
your
trip,
husband? Because I want to meet him, Taryn.
trip soon. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. Hope to see you in the parks, Allie.
Thanks, Allie.
We'll let you know.
It's going to be fun.
Oh, I think it's going to be awesome.
I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be a good time. I think it'll be fine. It'll just,
Okay.
it'll
It'll be different.
be, yes. No one will ever doubt that it'll be different.
It'll be
He's
different.
going to have the best time.
It's
I
gonna
know
be
he is. He doesn't realize it yet.
Watching Disneyland through Alice's eyes is going to be the best thing ever.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm bringing my PS4. I haven't told Tara this, but I'm
No,
gonna.
you are not.
Yes, because the kid's gonna be asleep at some point. We're gonna go back to the hotel because the kid will be asleep. I got Red Dead Redemption 2 to play. I mean, what is?
What am I going to
Oh,
do?
bro, did you get that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
I gotta
literally
get it.
nobody
I
cares.
gotta get it.
You got to get. Well, first of all, there's no multiplayer right now, but it's coming out
Really?
soon. Yeah, it's like later in the month.
Okay.
but it was tough. And Bev is literally leaning forward and staring at
The
me.
first one was awesome, dude. It was so
It's
good.
a challenge. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk afterwards.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Let's take
about
this
it.
offline.
Actually, let's just talk right now.
Wait.
So my review of Red Dead Redemption 2 goes as
Bev's
follows.
leaving.
Oh. All right, later.
Also, in the chat, they say that you can give a cast compliment through Disneyland Resort's Twitter at Disneyland Today, and you just use the hashtag cast compliment.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you can do it on the
Wow.
spot.
You don't even have to go to, but I wonder if it's the same, right? I wonder if they get a copy of it and it goes in their personal file, or
I'd rather go to City Hall and do it.
I would
that
do
way,
both.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, no, I wouldn't. I would go
We
to City
didn't
Hall
either.
because City Hall is cool. And now that they have all those like button stations, I guess I call them.
Right.
You don't even have to go to City Hall. It's a lot of times they'll have a hostess in front of City Hall in case you just want buttons. You don't have to go in.
That's true.
Go into City Hall if you've never been into City
It's
Hall.
really
It's
cool.
awesome.
Go into City Hall.
It's awesome. Yeah.
And you don't want your first time going in there be because you lost your wallet or something.
No.
Who loses their wallet?
I literally can't find my wallet now, and I lost my wallet in Disneyland.
Well, and so did our Canadian friend Blobber. So there's.
But mine got found.
Well,
Haha. All right, let's get Brittany on the line, huh?
yeah.
Brittany, if you're listening, I'm calling. I'm gonna call right now.
Brittany.
God, early, before the show started, Taryn was talking about something, I don't know, and she used the words "I swear."
Fair enough.
And I don't know if this happens to anybody else. I know it happens to Terrence. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
But whenever like certain trigger words bring up songs in my head, I don't know why.
Yes.
"I swear" is one of them. So I started going, and I swear by the moon and the stars
in the
How do you
sky.
hit that many notes at one time?
I'll be there. It's really hard. I actually have an extra vocal cord.
So good. That was such a beautifully terrible song.
So I went to a Boyz II Men concert.
Boy
That's
Smith.
not
That's not
Boys to Men. It's all for one.
Oh wow.
Really?
Yeah.
They're all the same.
Oh, then
Go on.
never
Brittany,
mind.
are you there?
I am here.
How you doing? Did you know that song was all for one and not Boys to
One
Men?
for all.
I did not know that. So sorry.
It's okay.
Wow.
It's okay. I didn't either.
Thanks for joining us, Brittany. I appreciate that very much.
Well, hello. You're welcome.
So we're going to talk to you a little bit about the Disney college program. Is that the right word? Is that like the actual term?
Yeah, exactly.
All
You're
right.
right on.
Are you still in it?
I am. I'm actually talking to you guys from my room in my apartment.
Ooh, official
Yes.
Disney, like a Disney-owned apartment?
I believe it's not Disney owned, but all the
Oh, wow.
residents in this apartment complex is a part of the Disney college program or currently in a Disney professional internship.
That
Huh.
sounds like it's craziness.
Yeah, is that because I would think like that's really cool because then you can sort of bond and you have like a like a team or you have a bunch of people that are going through the same kind of thing and you could it's like living in a normal college dorm. But then I would also think it's kind of does it get rowdy? Do you guys party? Let's be honest.
Okay, well, from my experience, no.
Mhm. I
I've
don't believe
never
you.
really been that type of person, I guess
Okay.
you could say. But yeah, there are parties that go around. I'm just kind of focused on work and like the
go.
actual like internship part of the program. So
Yeah.
that's just my experience.
Are you saying that because your parents will listen to this show?
No, actually,
Okay.
I didn't even link them to the show.
Probably smart. Do it after the fact.
Yeah, wait and see how it goes first.
Well, I might just
Exactly.
edit it together to make it sound like you're the super party girl of the whole like block.
Oh God,
So
please.
don't worry about that. So what? How long have you been in the program, and what are you studying?
So I actually just graduated from UC Davis. I graduated in 3 years, actually, so that was
Nice.
kind of nice. And
Wow.
then I just went into the Disney College program, and it started mid-August, and I'll be here until January 5th. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
All right. And what made you choose doing the Disney program, the Disney College program?
Like you guys, I grew up loving Disney, and I think I either stumbled upon it through like a Facebook advertisement or my friend was talking about it. So I applied, and yeah, here I am.
That's awesome.
What about the program kind of drew you to it? Besides that, it was Disney. Is it something that you want to do eventually? Is work for the company?
Yeah, I do want to work for the company somewhere down the road, hopefully, in like a corporate setting, hopefully. But what initially drew me to the program was that I'm from the Bay Area too. And so I just knew that I would only be able to move to Southern California and work as a Disneyland cast member if I did the Disney College program, because it's so expensive to live down here. So I was like, perfect.
Why the corporate aspect? You don't want to like design trees or brick walls or I don't know all the other kind of stuff.
Not creative at all.
Speaking my language.
I can't draw for my life.
Oh no!
I think what we should do, make sure you get into acquisitions. Because there's this really cool thing. It's called Coviers, and Disney might be interested in that.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. What Terrence said.
I do see the churro shirts a lot, and I ask people, "Oh, hey, like, where did you get your shirt?" And they're like, "Oh, some people from Etsy."
Yep,
I'm like,
us.
"Oh." I was hoping they would say like, "Oh, we listened to Ears Up," but no.
Oh.
That's always we do have an Etsy page. It's you search Coviers or search churro shirt. Like we're the only like good churro shirt out there, to be honest. And I did that a couple years ago, I think, Taryn. We were walking around and I actually got the nerve to go ask someone, and I thought the same thing, Brittany. I was disappointed when they're like, "Oh yeah, I just got it online," and then you kind of wait. There's that pause. You're like, and then they're going to bring up that they like the and then
no
one cares. No one cares.
Exactly. And then I'm like, "Tug on your seatbelt, please."
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff do you do at the internship?
So basically, there is the working aspect and the learning aspect.
Okay.
So for the working, I am an attractions hostess at Mater's Junkyard Jamboree.
Oh God,
over in
I'm so
Carland.
sorry for you.
They're gonna see you.
Yeah, we're gonna go on that.
Yeah, we're gonna go on that.
Yes.
That's an Alice approved ride.
She will love it.
Actually, you have to be 32 inches.
Oh, it's not.
Oh, so we can't go on it.
But we
Allison
do have a
and I will
rider
watch
switch.
Jason's like, I'm good.
No, man. So, does serious question? Does the music get to you, or do you block it out?
When I first learned my attraction, I thought that I was going to go crazy. And I would actually, any kind of music I would hear, I would think it's Mater's. It's kind of like having PTSD where you're just like, what is that? But no, I've learned to tune it out. And we actually did have Halloween songs. And actually today we switched it back to the regular songs. And then I think starting November 7th, that's when the holiday season starts.
Nice.
It goes, we'll have new Christmas songs. So
Wow.
Cool.
yeah.
Okay, so you do the Mater's thing. Do you switch at all, or is that just your attraction for the length of the program?
Yeah, exactly. So it's my attraction for the length of the program. If I did want to stay on, I could potentially learn another attraction. But yeah, so they just put you at one. And then there's the learning aspect. And so every college participant is required to take one class. And so right now I'm in the leadership speaking series. Yeah.
That sounds very corporate focused.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what they have Disney executives and people from all over the company who come in and talk to us about their Disney journey, basically how they got to where they are now, and advice that they have for us in the future.
Anything, I don't know, mind-blowing or anything like life-altering or
any particular speakers that were just amazing?
Yeah, because I would have a hard time. I don't know. Corporate speak for me is very hard to kind of get around. I mean, I get it and I understand it, but using it, I have like a mental block, and I don't know if I could sit there and go through something like that. As much fun as working for Disney corporate sounds, I mean, I think it'd be really great. Mm-hmm. But is there anything that you're taking away from it? I guess what I'm asking is, do you find that it's relevant to you? Are you learning stuff? That's not like your dad.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. With all the speakers, I've gained a lot of knowledge. Actually, well, I guess it's surprising maybe to you guys, but yeah. In terms of like staying with the company, a lot of them have advised like, hey, you don't have to stay within the company. You can leave. And of course, there's always a way back. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of our college participants get caught up in the fact that once you're in the company, you can't leave. Okay. And like, if you leave, you can't come back. But so yeah, definitely like knowing that, and there's opportunities out there, and you're of course, more than welcome to come back. You obviously have to apply and interview and all that stuff. But knowing that if you leave the company, it's not the end of your entire Disney journey.
You're not blacklisted.
Exactly. You're not blacklisted.
Sorry, Brittany, you're barred from the company. You can't even go to the park anymore. Why? Because you left the college program and didn't stay on. I don't know what you were thinking.
Yeah. So yeah, just that in general career advice. That's kind of like been the big takeaways from all the speakers.
Like sort of future training, like corporate life in Disney is like this, and so this is the culture, and kind of just to get you situated within that sort of Disney culture, because corporate culture can vary from job to job.
Yes.
And I imagine Disney corporate culture is very, I don't know. Loose and yet rigid at the same time, I guess. Yeah,
so from what I've gotten is that it differs actually from each line of business. For example, we just had Tyler Slater, who manages D23, the fan club.
Oh.
And he was even saying that it's really, really different. Like his part of like his role in the Walt Disney Company is completely different from, let's say, like if you're over at Team Disney Anaheim, which is over here in the Disneyland Resort. So the culture is really different, and it varies.
Cool. I think that would be hard for me. Like if I worked in one of the sections that was kind of more rigid, and then I heard that someone else had much more fun, I would be like bummed out.
Move over there.
Yeah, I guess. Is it easy, do you think, to move within the company? Is that kind of the vibe you're getting? You can kind of do whatever you want as far as a career, or are there a lot of hoops you have to go through first and put in your time and get tenure and then kind of move up and around?
Yeah, so what I've gotten so far from all my classes is that you do have to put in the work, you have to show that you're committed. That's from what I've gained, that from like all the speakers. Other people may have gotten something else, but that's kind of the feeling that I've gotten.
Okay.
So is this program kind of like a natural progression to possibly be with the company, or is it something where is it more like a very competitive internship where you maybe have, say, 40 people as part of the program, and if you get 4 people that are good enough to stay with the company out of this, they consider themselves lucky?
It's kind of like not either of those options.
Okay. So what's
weird
C?
Because yeah, it's weird because so we are regular cast members, and after the program ends, they give you an option to stay on so you can continue your role in whatever line of business you're in. And they obviously have to approve you because they wouldn't want to keep a bad worker, obviously, So yeah, they would have to approve you. Other people go on to apply for a professional internship, and that's different than the Disney College program because it's more specific to like a different part of the Walt Disney Company. So you could be on the corporate side, or you could be back in parks and operations and things like that. Or some people get lucky and they get a full-time position somewhere within the company. So yeah, it varies. And then obviously people leave as well. So
was there what was the application process like? What did you have to go through to get into this program?
Yeah, so let's see here. There's 2 different types of programs. There's spring and there's fall. And then within spring and fall, there's Spring Advantage and Fall Advantage. So you have to kind of pick whichever one you want to apply to. The spring, I believe it starts in January and it goes until May or June. And then the Spring Advantage will go from January until July, I want to say. I could totally be getting those dates wrong, but I know that it ends. It starts in January and it ends somewhere in the summer or the end of spring.
Okay.
And then the fall begins in so your Fall Advantage, you would start in, I believe, May or June, and then you would go until January. And then if you're fall, like I am, you would start in August and then go all the way till January.
And then that's it?
Well, you have to pick whichever one you want to apply for first.
Right.
And so once you do, applications for spring open up in September, I want to say, and they end in that application season ends in October. And then for the fall season, it opens in January, and then I believe it ends at the end of February. So you apply.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You basically, it's the same as like any application process. You send in your resume and relevant work experience, and then you kind of just play the waiting game. Sometimes you'll get what's called a web-based interview right away. Some people may have to wait. It kind of just depends on, I think it's algorithms and like a robot looking at your resume. People have told me no, but other people have told me yes.
You sound like me
So-
with the Disney Moms panel.
Yeah.
I swear to God, that's an algorithm. I think Google and Disney are working together on that. But the lady from the program said no.
Yeah.
Someone actually reviews all 5,000 applications.
Because there has to be so many, especially for this Disney college program. There has to be.
There has to be more. I would bet there's more applications for the Disney college program than the Moms panel.
Oh,
Oh,
probably.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm. Because there's the program here in Disneyland, and then there's the program in Walt Disney World.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Walt Disney World has way more participants than
Oh,
Disneyland does.
I bet.
So,
Okay.
so I want to say that it's an algorithm, but we'll see. I don't know. I could be wrong. That's just what I personally think.
Yeah.
So after that, if you get reviewed and you're offered a web-based interview, you schedule that. And what the web-based interview is, it's basically a test to see if your views and your ethics are aligned with the Disney company. And so it's kind of a lengthy web-based interview. It's about, I want to say it's about 30 minutes.
Okay.
And the questions are repetitive, of course, because they want to see if you're a consistent person and that you're not lying. So if you pass that, then you schedule your phone interview. And from there, you have your phone interview, and then you play the waiting game again, and you wait to see if you get in. Yeah, sometimes it can take a few days, and sometimes you'll sit there until the very end
Wow.
of the
That
application
would be
season.
so nerve-wracking.
It's like waiting to see if you get on Big Brother.
Yeah.
Have you tried to get on Big Brother,
No.
Jason?
Absolutely not.
No, I haven't because I really want to, but A, I'm not athletic at all. B, I have a terrible memory for the games and stuff. And C, I'm not really likable in large chunks of time for like 90 days. There's no way.
You get voted out the first second.
There's-
You walk into the room. Nope. Sorry. I'm voting him out.
No way.
Oh my gosh! Like the first day, there would be an alliance against you.
For sure, and especially like because a lot of the Big Brother people have those like a lot of woo. I call them woo girls, where it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
into the microphone and they scream woo for like a long period of time, and somehow they'll always get edited together in like clumps. So I think it's worse. And then if I was in Big Brother, like I can't even be in the same room with these people, and I met him for 10. Anyway, that's not about me though. This is about Brittany.
So do you know how competitive it is? Because I imagine it's extremely competitive. So I
think
imagine
it's a-
you did really, really
I
well.
think you have to do jiu-jitsu in the final blood sport.
I'm not entirely sure how competitive it is, but it is. I can tell you that it is extremely competitive, and that if you are selected, it's really a prestigious and a really big deal. So,
Cool.
yeah,
Well,
that's all
good
I
for
can tell
you.
you. They never really give us numbers, so.
I would be fascinated to learn how many people actually applied.
Yeah, me too.
That would be great because I mean, you got to be in the top 5%. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
4%. I mean, a Disney college deal like that's a big thing.
I would guess that it's as hard or harder to get into the Disney college program than it is to get into like a
College.
prestigious college.
Yeah.
Well, there's not as many. Do you know how many slots are available for the program?
I know for Disneyland, it's maybe a few hundred, maybe.
Wow, okay.
I'm not entirely sure.
That's more than I thought. Honestly.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was
Yeah,
like 20.
Disney World has a little more, or not a little more, a lot more. And I just know that there's, I think, 6 apartment complexes in Walt Disney
wow.
World, and there's 1 apartment complex here. So,
Oh,
See,
okay.
and you know they're partying in Florida because number one, the heat makes you do weird
Bro.
stuff, and then they have.
There's books about
do you do
that.
weird stuff, Jason?
It's not that hot up here, but yeah, when I get hot for like 2-3 days in a row, yeah, my mind freaks out for sure.
That's why New Orleans is such a mess.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, for sure. So, what's your plan after the program ends in January? Are you staying on, or are you gonna bail and do something else?
Well, I've applied for some professional internships, and I had a phone screening last week, so we'll see how that goes.
Oh,
If I don't get a professional internship, I'm going to move back home, and hopefully, I'm going to apply for an internship with the San Francisco Giants. So hopefully, that will come through. If so, I'm just kind of playing the waiting game. I'm like graduated and unemployed, so that's fun.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide on which one I want you to get, because as much as I love Disneyland, I'm also like the world's biggest Giants fan, and I want tickets to AT&T, and I want to run the field.
Oh my gosh.
So if you can
Run the field.
I want it once in my lifetime, or like
Literally never wanted to do that.
really.
Also, you're wearing a Giants hat right now.
Yeah, I know,
don't
but I
even
can't
wanna
afford
watch
tickets.
someone
This
run
is
the
literally
field.
the first time I haven't thought you were lying.
Wow.
The first time ever.
Got him.
I've actually
Wow.
also been on the field.
I've been on the field, but I've never run the bases. That's what I want to do. I want to run the bases.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Can you hook it up?
Oh. I mean, you can become a junior Giants coach and maybe
Am I old enough to be? Oh, I'm a junior Giant. I was like, I'm not 12.
Coach.
a coach, not
Okay.
a player.
Okay.
I mean, but with your skill set, they might let you play.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
Wow, burns all over. This place is
Wow.
on fire.
I can hit that ball via infield. It's not
Incineration.
good. Jerks.
Well, I hope you get the job at Disney. I mean, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as the Giants is interesting to Terrence.
Yeah. Disney benefits all of us. So I'll stop being selfish.
No, but that's really cool. That's a really big accomplishment, it sounds like, and that's awesome. I think you're kind of living all of our dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they pay you and stuff, right? Like housing is free. Is housing free, and then they pay you and all that kind of nonsense, or do you have to pay for housing?
So you do get paid. You get paid the same wage as normal cast members do.
It's like $1
but
an hour.
you do have to pay for housing.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
But that can't be too bad.
Well, it's a college program, so
Yeah, but
you
I
pay for
mean-
college.
Yeah, that's true.
Disney's not
have-
going to do anything for free.
So you have like 12 roommates or something to be able to afford to live down there, or what?
No, actually, I have 4 housemates. I have 1 roommate, and then 3 other girls share a bedroom.
Oh my goodness,
That's a lot of people.
bro.
Is it hard? Is that the hardest aspect of the program? Is just living with all these people?
No, actually, it's kind of weird because I hardly ever see anybody because we all have different working schedules.
Okay.
Actually, I'm like by myself right now.
Awesome.
So yeah, everyone has different schedules, and so yeah,
Does
it's
everybody
really rare when everyone's home at the same time.
does everybody seem happy? Are they like excited for this? Like, is the general consensus that like people are still stoked this far into the game?
I would say the majority of people are. Yeah, I would say that everyone's really excited. We just had our mid-program celebration a couple of weeks ago, so that's like the halfway point of our program. And that was really cool. It was at Pixar Pier.
Oh,
So-
really?
Nice. Right on.
Nice.
What did they do for
Yeah.
you? Just give you a bunch of churros, pats on the head, and say get back to work?
Well, we got to get Pixar Pier all to ourselves after the park closed.
That's cool.
We got to ride the Incredicoaster and Toy Story Midway Mania all we wanted. They had a DJ. We had a dance party. We did have unlimited churros and unlimited popcorn.
Wow.
As well as we got some hot dogs as well.
I
So
want to be in the Disney College program.
Just to
my
get unlimited
Just
churros
for that.
and ride Midway Mania as much as I want.
And
Yeah.
she said she got hot dogs too, though.
That's true.
Popcorn, yeah.
Dang. That's a party.
Right on.
yeah, it was fun. But then that went until like 1 a.m, and then I had work at 7:15 in the morning. So
Bummer.
Yeah, but you're young
Yeah.
enough, man. You
Negative.
can't. That's fine. That's all right. Well, Brittany, hey, you know what? We'll let you go. I really Terrence, one more question.
Is there some place on Instagram where people can follow your journey with the Disney College program?
oh yes, there is. It's at DCP with Brit C. I'll put it like in the comments too.
Awesome.
Cool.
Oh yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll let you split. I appreciate you taking the time, especially from the very, very rare alone time it sounds like you get.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks
Biting
for
him.
having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome. And we'll look for you at Mater's Jamboree.
Yes.
But not very hard because I don't want to go on that ride.
Why don't you like the ride?
I don't know,
The
man.
music.
It was weird. Everyone was really nice who worked there when I went on it, but the music. Mater is. I don't like Mater. Mater's not my favorite character. I think he's I think he's
he
annoying.
grows on you. I think if you just like hop on, you won't even hear the music. You'll just be having so much fun.
Well,
That's what I
maybe.
think.
I don't have that much fun really generally. But maybe I have to work there for like 2 months.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe.
You know who's good? Mater. That Mater's funny. That Mater's a
I
good
love
guy.
Mater.
You would though.
I would. You're right.
All right, Brittany, we'll talk to you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.
Bye.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Good time.
That's awesome.
How would you rate this call? I'll give it a 5-star. Oh, not the caller, but the quality of the call. All
It was
right,
pretty good.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Skype. What are you gonna do? Man, I don't know if I would. Well, first of all, I went to community college. So I'm sure you have to like graduate normal like big college to get involved in the Disney college program. I don't know. I should have asked that, but I don't know if I would participate in the program. I'd feel really weird about it because I don't know. When I
Why?
was like 19, I was not very
Yes.
not likable as I am right now.
Oh, dang. Oof.
Yeah. But it sounds like a cool thing, man.
No, that's awesome. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I would have loved it.
So I think
I'd have loved it.
I think there must be 2 programs. There must be an internship like for
I think that
college
comes
students.
afterwards. Yeah.
No,
That's
like students that are actually in college.
Oh.
Because I know 2 people who went to that. Well, I know, quote unquote, know them. Like I know them, but we're not friends. But like it's
You make fun of me for sounding
I
like
know,
a Valley
I
girl.
sound stupid. I know, but like
She knows it though.
Oh.
fair enough, right?
Taryn, you need to be told it.
A lot of participants are still in college.
They are, so maybe it's the same program.
Yeah, because you have to take. She was saying you have to take a class. to
And
be
she
in the
did say
program
she graduated Davis in 3
in
years.
3 years.
That's true.
Because she
Yeah, I did.
crazy
I did.
smart.
She's smart.
Wow. Yeah.
SMRT.
I don't know what that feels like.
No, me neither.
All right, Taryn, we got a movie review, huh?
Oh, yeah, we do.
All right, you want to talk about that for a sec, bro?
Sure. Bear
movie
with
did
me
we
because
do?
I've got this. Here, let me move the camera off of you because that's kind of awkward.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So I did the Adventures of Ichabod Crane and Mr. Toad. That's the next on our list.
Okay. How was
first-
it?
It was okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. Because Mr. Toad it's a huge ride.
That's why I wanted
Is it a
this.
huge ride? Is
No, but it's an original and
it?
it's
Okay. All right.
it's a ride.
It's popular.
And I never knew what it was all about, so that's kind of why I wanted to do this one because I'd never seen this movie. I didn't even know it was like a thing.
Yeah, we just did the ride a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen it maybe once when I was a little guy. Read the book. Don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, so I had no expectation. I had
Right.
no clue what this was going to be. It starts off and it's live action, I guess, but with no people. It's just a library. Kind of zooms in on these books, and then they start the story. So the first weird
Man,
thing.
they love using that kind of like, here's the book, and the book opens, and then now
opens.
there's the story.
Yeah,
Like that's the thing.
they're telling you a tale.
Yeah,
as
they're
old
reminding
as
you
time.
this is a story.
Right. What I did not realize about this, I thought it was going to be some cool mashup of whatever Mr. Toad is and Sleepy Hollow, Ichabod Crane. No, they are totally different stories that have zero connection.
Okay.
So
I wonder why they were put together then.
I
As
don't
in, like,
know.
they're like 2 different stories. They
Two
don't have- they don't
completely different
cross
stories.
at all.
They don't cross.
Huh.
After the first one, it comes to the live action again, and another book comes off the shelf, and then it's the second story, and I'm like,
No, why?
I don't. Yeah,
Could've been
exactly.
called
Why?
Disney stories.
Yeah, it was super weird.
Including-
I didn't. So I wasn't expecting that.
It just reminds me of the opening scene of Ghostbusters, to be completely honest. When the books are flying off the shelves.
Wow.
That would be great.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
way the movie started off.
So it did.
There's the ghost and
Yeah.
telling.
Oh, I thought you were
Yeah.
literally
Yeah,
telling
no,
me to
I-
be quiet.
And I was like, that
Oh.
was
Like,
so
Dang,
obnoxious.
homie, you started it.
If I ever did that, I would expect you, nay, demand you not just go, okay.
Well, there were words that I wanted to say, but this ain't the secret show. Go on, Taryn.
Okay, so it starts off with the story of Mr. Toad. The story follows that. Stop it. That I have a page and a half, so let me just do this.
Go.
The story follows Thaddeus Toad, who is Mr. Toad.
Thaddeus.
Yes,
Good name.
who is an incurable adventurer. He's wealthy as he owns Toad Hall Estates, a giant stone house. But he gets in a lot of trouble and needs a lot of lawyers. And he has a tendency to follow all of the current fads, which has left him on the brink of bankruptcy. His accountant and friend is doing his best to keep his estate intact, which has been a source of pride for the community. So he asks Mr. Toad's best friends Ratty, a rat, and Moley, a mole,
frog,
to help convince
Working for the FBI.
right. To help convince Thaddeus to quit his reckless behavior.
Okay.
So as they're confronting him, a motor car drives by, and
geez.
Mr. Toad becomes literally drunk with envy. His eyes start swirling, and he cannot see anything.
Hey, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, that
Yes.
sounds like in the ride. Now I understand what's
Yes.
going
Right.
on.
He is like crazy, and all he wants now. So he was riding a stagecoach type thing, like a horse and a thing, and he sees this motor car, and he's like, "Oh my God, I need that thing." So he's like a little rich boy who's like, "I want that now."
How was it?
I want the world.
I want that now.
Exactly.
I want the whole world.
Presents
I
and
want
prizes
to lock it all up in my pocket. It's my bar of chocolate. Give it to me now.
Best
I
food.
want today.
I want tomorrow. I did a one-man show of that in high school. Anyway, go on. Don't look
Let's
at me
talk
like
about
that.
that later.
Don't care. I want it now.
Literally,
I
I want to
feel
talk about that
judged.
later.
You are.
Yeah. So he literally cannot
Could be
think
a
of
good judge.
anything except how he can get a motor car.
Right.
Ratty and Moley try to keep him under house arrest to help him from trying to steal a motor car, which they believe is Mr. Toad's plan. But he escapes, goes to a bar where he sees a motor car outside, and makes an ill-fated deal with a few weasels.
Okay.
So, and with the bartender as the witness, he signs over the deed of his estate to the weasels in exchange for the car.
For a car.
For a car.
For real, dude?
Yeah,
he's not very
crazy.
smart.
No, he's kind of annoying, honestly. So Mr. Toad gets arrested for car theft and represents himself at the trial, where he calls the bartender to the stand to testify that he purchased the car,
Yeah.
to which the bartender lies, and Mr. Toad is found guilty.
Guilty.
As it turns out, the bartender was in on the whole deal and is actually in possession of the deed. So after Mr. Toad's loyal horse helps him escape prison, they go on an adventure to try to get the deed back and right the wrongs. The story, of course, ends happily for Mr. Toad as he gets exonerated and wins his house back. However, he sees an airplane flying and becomes drunk again with envy, wanting the airplane. And the last scene is him flying in the stupid airplane. Okay.
Wait. Did I miss the part where he goes to hell?
Yeah, that wasn't in there.
Wait. He goes to him going to hell is not in the story at all. Is it in the book? It's got to be in the book.
It's
man.
probably in the book. So it's from the book The Wind in the Willows.
Right. Okay.
So
All right. Weird.
this story is interesting.
Yeah.
I did not like it at first because it was hard to follow and hard to understand.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the plot points I ended up having to grab from Wikipedia because it's literally a hard story to follow. And then I have this problem with accents.
Yes, you do.
I really can't understand. Like, we have to watch
Yeah.
like some American shows even just like with subtitles. Like, I have a hard time understanding what people are saying.
True.
And so
True.
and
Like
so
we watch Doctor Who, and it's just you're reading it. Like,
I have to like,
yeah.
and
But I give you that.
yeah.
Scottish accents are hard.
So
They are.
So this was a heavy British show. Heavy British accents, no subtitles. I caught about a quarter of what they were saying.
Okay.
So I was
All right.
pretty much gathering my information from the visuals because they also spoke really fast. So my take on this is that it is not good for kids.
Okay.
Kids
Fair.
are not going to like it's cool. The animation's cool for adults to watch.
Yeah.
It's fine. Kids are gonna be very bored by it. There's like a lot of like it'll flash like a newspaper with words on it, and it's like a kid doesn't care about that. They can't read.
Right.
So presumably.
But also, like, I feel like
I mean, they'll learn
scenes
eventually,
with
but
him becoming quote unquote drunk is probably inappropriate.
Oh no! So there's cross dressing. There's lots of drunk people in this. There's
They do it in Pinocchio.
there's theft. So there's a lot of that stuff.
there's theft.
Well,
the thought
yeah.
police over here.
We
yeah.
should launch them all to Mars.
Plus, Mr. Toad, he's not actually a very likable character. He's kind of just this rich jerk
Yeah, he sounds like a jerk.
who actually then just ends up getting away with everything.
Now I don't want to go on the ride.
It's kind of weird. I
Boycott
actually
the
really
ride.
Boycott the ride.
No,
That ride is banned in my house. Me and Keira Knightley.
I actually really want to go on it and see if there are any
Pick it out.
similarities.
Well, I kind of want to go on it now too again and just see if it now makes sense because every time I
Yeah.
go on that ride, I'm like, oh, I forgot to drop acid.
Yeah.
Sorry, my
Sorry, I'm
LSD is
not
wearing
Brad.
off. Yeah.
Sorry,
Right,
not
I'm not
Brad.
Brad.
Sorry, I'm not stoned out of my mind.
So at this point, I'm halfway through this movie, and I'm like, God, there's a whole other story.
I kind of feel that way so far when I do them.
Bro.
Yeah.
I,
I'm
which
kind
I
of-
still need to write mine.
Literal fact.
Yeah, so I'm a little irritated at this point, but I'm like, okay, I got to finish it.
Right.
So then there's Ichabod Crane. Ichabod Crane is based on the story The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Ichabod is a super awkward, lanky, not so attractive, eccentric school teacher who is also very weird.
Like
Sounds-
me, except for the school teacher.
Sounds legit.
He kind of looks like a cartoon version of Christopher Eccleston, speaking of Doctor Who.
Okay.
However, despite his odd behavior, the women in the town come to like him, but the men do not. At this point, it shows Ichabod's calendar, and it's full of women's club entries, like women's book club, women's dance club, women's... And I was like, why are all of his things on his calendar have women things? And
Women things.
as I started thinking about it later,
Yeah.
I started wondering if he's gay.
Oh, it was like an insinuation kind of a thing?
Yeah. Just because he is a little bit
Inference.
effeminate.
Okay.
He gets
right.
along really well with the women, but they don't like him. They don't like him. Like
They don't want to date him.
they
or
don't want to
whatever,
date him, but
right?
they like him a lot. So I don't know if that's what they're insinuating, but after I was kind of like recollecting the whole thing, I was like, maybe.
Huh. Okay.
If so, it's very stereotypical. So probably wouldn't hold up to today's.
There's a lot of movies, so it wouldn't hold to
Yeah.
today's thing, yeah.
Oh, that's true. So that part's a little confusing. Brom Bones, he is the town's big guy. He bullies Ichabod pretty much daily, but Ichabod has a strange confidence that allows him to kind of just shrug it off. Then Katrina Van Tassel, a beautiful, wealthy young woman, enters the story, and Ichabod falls super in love with her and her mother and her family's money. But so is Brom Bones, of course. He also loves her. So they compete for her attractions at her family's Halloween party. Ichabod is really winning the competition at the party. However, it's really only because Katrina is trying to make Brom jealous and make him try harder to win her over. At the party, Brom discovers that Ichabod is superstitious and devises a plan to tell him a scary story about a headless horseman who's killed by a cannonball and travels every year on Halloween searching for a replacement head, and the only way to escape him is to cross an old, dilapidated bridge. Everyone thinks it's a fun Halloween tale except Ichabod, who becomes extremely frightened. As Ichabod walks home from the party, he's confronted by the headless horseman, freaks out, but then remembers he just needs to cross this bridge, which he does. Unfortunately, the headless horseman throws a flaming jack-o'-lantern over the bridge, hitting Ichabod. The next morning, Ichabod's hat is found near the bridge next to the smashed pumpkin, and Ichabod is nowhere to be found. Brom marries Katrina, and as time passes, rumors say that Ichabod is still alive and married to a wealthy widow with many children who look like him, but the Sleepy Hollow townsfolk still believe he was killed by the Headless Horseman. Dark.
That is insane.
That's the whole story.
That's the story.
Bro, this is a kid's movie?
Right. So this is another...
Kids back then in the 40s, dude, were way more,
I guess so.
they were working in coal mines at 5, dude. Like, you know what I
Got
mean?
the black lung pop.
Yeah, so it was
It's all right,
really...
watch Ichabod.
It's complicated. There's really hardly any dialogue at all in this one. It's almost all visual, and there's a few songs that have words, and that's the only way. So I guess it's a musical in a way, but it's almost all visual. I think this one was better for kids than Mr. Toad, although probably too scary.
Right.
All right.
Fair enough.
However, the message here, I guess, at the end, kind of the bully won, which
the
is
bully
weird.
absolutely won.
So it's
It's like Bluto marrying
so-
Oliver.
Right?
the bully won, but Ichabod also now with my theory that he might be gay, I don't even think he really loved her. I think he wanted her money. So then I'm like, maybe he shouldn't have got her anyway. Like, I don't know. This story is real weird.
What year is this from?
5 years ago.
Sorry.
I don't know.
I can Google.
Yeah, you do that.
It's got to be late 30s, early 40s.
Which makes me think that they wouldn't have a gay character.
Probably not.
No, he couldn't be gay. I mean,
49.
49.
Yeah.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's late. I
Isn't
mean,
it still illegal
I
to
understand
say that
why that you. Yeah,
England.
maybe.
Well, I'm not the
I-
only
I-
one who thinks that.
No, I
either,
understand
but
why
yeah.
you would think that, but if he's like vying for her attention, then that
Yeah,
kinda
and
negates
he's
it,
like
but-
drully in love with her.
yeah.
So
he's just a weird dude.
he's a weird,
But I-
weird dude. And actually, I did like him as a character. I thought that he was likable. I wanted him to win, and then he died.
He's like the ultimate
supposedly.
underdog. But I mean, that's probably why he was doing all the women's dance and stuff like that, because he's trying to find a woman,
Yeah,
and that's what you do, and that's why all the guys hate him, because all the women like him.
yeah,
I kind of don't like that it's so ambiguous. Like you don't know what happens to him.
yeah.
Women
it's,
want him,
it's
and
bizarre.
men want to be him. Yeah, it is.
It's really weird.
There's no conclusion. I don't like
Yeah,
it.
I don't like. But I kind of like it.
Well, and that's pretty much why I would say probably don't have your kids watch this, because they're gonna have a ton of questions. Because I had a ton of questions.
Will they though? Like, I wonder. I mean, you guys have older kids.
This was easier to follow.
Do you guys get that where kids are following plot, or is it just imagery that they enjoy and then they don't really understand what's
The
going
older
on?
they get, the more they follow the plot,
Yeah.
like Jack
Yeah.
does at this point.
Oh yeah, no, she'll follow a plot, but I don't think she would ask questions, because just listening to this, I feel like she would check out like 20 minutes in. She's like, not even 20 minutes in, 10
No.
minutes in. I'm gonna go do something not.
Yeah.
this."
Yeah,
No.
Let me know when it's over, Mom.
Watch videos of people playing with toys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one, if on a scale
love
from 1 to 10,
Yes.
would a kid like it? The Mr. Toad part, I would say 2.
How about on a scale from Gary Sinise to
Gary Sinus.
I don't know.
Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan.
there you go.
Perfect.
All right.
The Ichabod, I would say maybe a 4. But either way,
So you would say this movie has no legs. Boom, Lieutenant Dan joke.
God.
oh my
But
god.
I will say, as a parent, I
Apparently.
don't hear anything about these movies being really kid friendly or appropriate.
No, not
so
really.
I don't think that I would encourage
No.
Abby to
Right.
watch
Yeah.
them.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, the hero dies,
You could
and
skip
the
it.
other dude is a spoiled brat who gets away with everything.
However, for adults, for adult Disney fans, it was cool to watch.
Well, and
It wasn't boring.
So here's a question I have about kids and premise and stuff like that. When kids ride Mr. Toads, do your kids leave that ride and go, I don't know what just happened, or do they just kind of enjoy it?
They just rode a ride.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying about the cartoon. Like
So-
they're not going to understand it, but they know they watch the cartoon and it's fine.
So we've ridden that ride, and I've actually asked Abby, like, what was that ride about? And she's like, I think he went to hell.
Yeah.
But that's all she got out of it,
Yeah.
was the demon and the fire and the heat,
I wonder why.
because of the hell.
Because of the hell.
We have a new segment brought up by not Greg.
Okay.
So it's for me and you, Bev.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And we'll have our kids, preferably our 2 oldest,
Yes.
watch these movies
only have
and
one.
record their
Yes.
your
Oh,
oldest and
that's
my
good.
oldest and record their reactions.
Rea-
or
reaction
interview them
videos.
afterwards.
I like
Reaction
that.
videos.
Yeah.
That's good.
Absolutely.
I don't want Abby to watch this movie.
Not this one. Next one. We
Next
watch
one,
the next
okay.
one.
God,
Well,
what a
now they're getting
baby.
boring, and they've all seen them after
What's the
this.
next one? Is the next one
It's like Alice in Wonderland is coming up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy enough.
Yeah,
then,
they're-
I would
they all
love, but
get
no,
easy after
honestly, I
That's
would
also
love.
a movie where you kind of need to be tripping balls to watch.
I would love for them to watch, and maybe it's not the whole thing. Maybe it's half an hour or whatever, like
Right.
Fantasia.
My kids
Ichabod
love
Cr-
Fantasia.
No.
Yeah, really? My boys
Even the
love
boring
it.
parts?
My
Dude,
boys love
you mean
it.
the whole movie?
No, I know it's terrible, but they love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can they follow along? There's no.
I don't
no plot.
think there's no plot, but they love it. They love the visuals. They love all of that stuff.
Okay.
They're also
All right.
tripping on acid.
Well,
So
they also inject them in heroin into their
Right.
toes, but
it's an experimentation.
it's fine. Very good, Taryn. Thank you very much.
Yes.
You are welcome.
Good job, Darren.
All right.
Okay, we're gonna take a break real fast because this last segment I'm gonna need a beer, and I'm gonna cut this part out.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
I kind of want to watch that movie.
All right, let's talk about. Wait, hell, let me do that again. All right, let's talk about this so-called podcast that was on. I'm mad. At this, but I'm trying to be cool about it. So I get this email. Actually, make sure I can read this email. Yeah, I can read these emails. Okay, here is the email that I got. Hi, I'm a reporter at Business Insider working on a story about Disney's social clubs for our new podcast, Household Name. I've heard you discuss social clubs on your show from time to time and was wondering if one of you might have time to chat with me briefly over the phone about how they fit into the larger Disney community. At this point, I'm just researching the subject and trying to get some general background information from Disney fans. Thanks so much for your help. Looking forward, blah, blah. And of course, me being me, I would love to be the focus of your interview, Business Insider audio intern. But so that was the premise that I was going on for this, okay? If you how the social clubs fit into the larger Disney community. Not your opinion on social clubs, not what you thought about them, but how they fit into the larger John. I can do that. I'm the voice of a generation.
Jeez.
Not really, but whatever. Okay, so that is, and then that's the premise. That's where I got involved in this. So the first time we talked, it was about an hour, unrecorded. She's like, okay, we'll figure this out. I'll get with my producer, my editor, and we'll see what happens. So then I get an email about a month after that. This gal's name is Sarah, by the way. And she goes, hey, we're ready to record. When can you do it? Great, let's do this. Let's record. Hey, can you record your side of the audio? Yes, I can. I would love to do that and send me the audio. Okay, cool. I'm still going off the premise of how do the social clubs fit into the larger Disney community? And even when I was talking to her in the first interview, she was like, we're kind of unsure of the direction. It's going to either be social clubs or why Disney kind of resonates with a lot of people. And I'm like, okay. And then so in my mind, I'm preparing for the interview going, okay, I can mix these two and kind of just jump back and forth between topics. So she has at least audio to use.
Right.
So here's the email I got 8 days ago. She says, hey, Jason, thanks so much for taking time to chat Disney with me a few weeks back. ! The episode is out now. The story went through a whole bunch of edits before we ended up with this version. And one of the things I was most sad to lose was a bunch of our conversation about what makes Disneyland magical and how Walt succeeded in deliberately engineering a place that is generic enough to feel so intensely personal to so many. A ton of that informed how I talked about Disney and its history in the episode. There was no history in this episode, but anyway, as well as a lot of my reporting. I'm going to put air quotes around that because this chick did not do any reporting. But your voice didn't make it into all of those sections, and I'm genuinely bummed that it worked out that way because you sounded amazing.
Well,
Hope you and your family doing well. Enjoy Alice's first trip to the park. So I read this. I listened to this story. And you can go listen to it on iTunes. It's up. I rated it a 1 star. I hated it. I literally hated it. I was heated because after about 2.5 hours of audio, essentially an hour and a half I recorded for her, 2.5 hours of my life, there was about 15 seconds of me in the thing. And so the show is called, here, let me pull the name of the show up. I mean, not the name of the show, but the name of the episode.
I just want to clarify what you're saying
Yes.
because it sounds a little, for lack of a better term, douchey.
Okay.
I think that when you say that you were angry only 15 seconds isn't, you need to be specific that it's what they took, what they made those 15 seconds.
Both.
Right?
Yeah. No, let's be completely honest. I want as much airtime as possible.
Okay, then.
And
Fair
I
enough.
am not ashamed in saying that at all because I
okay.
have a podcast.
Well, no, that's
You
fair.
know what I mean? So the episode title is Gangs ? At Disneyland ? And here is the synopsis of this episode. Air quote episode. Once upon a time, how clever, gangs roamed Disneyland in biker vests. They swarmed rides. They got in fights. Or so we thought. The real story is kind of a classic Disney fairy tale about a princess and her merry band of friends. But is there a happily ever after? Literally none of that really is kind of the premise of the actual show. Gangs at Disneyland, that's the premise of the show. That's the topic that I was asked to speak about. Gangs at Disneyland.
Yeah. Well, it just even the title and the synopsis don't match.
They're not the same thing.
Like, it sounds like they took the story in a different direction, which is fine, but title it appropriately.
And they did.
That's
So
clickbait.
what I hate about it is they got in fights, or so we thought. No, there are actual fights there have been social club fights in Disneyland. I mean, look, again, let's be fair, social clubs, since we are one. People fight in Disneyland.
Yeah.
It's not
It's a
just segmented and saved just for people in clubs to fight.
Yeah, it's not only people in vests.
No, of course not.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
But it happens. So even in the synopsis of their stupid episode, they have it incorrect, and they're very biased in their reporting. Right. So the story goes along. It's 34 minutes. I come in around the 20-minute mark, or something like that. I encourage you to listen to it, because honestly, the vibe that I get from these people is that they were trying to be like Criminal or Lore, where they kind of they go, oh, here's the premise. Oh, but what we thought wasn't that at all. And then they throw a twist in. But the problem is the twist that they threw made no sense in the context of telling a story. It didn't fit in with the assertion, are there gangs at Disneyland? To me, they were two different stories. So anyway, I can't play obviously the audio of the podcast, but like I said, around the 20-minute mark, basically she's talking to people. She introduced a gal called Roxy, who is in the Bangarang Babes, is a social club, and they wear a lot of glitter, and definitely, again, not your typical social club member, I guess, for lack of a better term.
At least not like visually what you would perceive as a social club
No,
member.
and
Like,
I've never seen them. I've only seen a couple of maybe 5 clubs in total ever represented at Disneyland, and I've never seen them in large groups or whatever. That's just not that's not my interaction with them. So Sarah's going. There's critics of the social club scene, and then she says critics like Jason Petros, and so this is the first. Oh, so the first clip or the first quote. Right after that, right after she calls me a critic, she says she plays a quote that is that's me saying social clubs are like cockroaches. If you wait a little bit, the more we're going to show up. Very negative.
Very negative.
But also
Super negative.
The answer was not. The question was entirely different. And here's the first. Let me make sure I got this on. Here's the first question of the actual entire interview.
And so I wonder, are you aware of the social clubs when you're at Disneyland? Like, have you seen them around?
Yes. Yeah, very aware. A part of, I think, the point, even though anybody in a social club won't admit it, I think part of the point is to be noticed. That's why they wear the cut, that biker vest. That's why they have the giant patch on the back with the top rocker and the bottom rocker, and they travel in groups. And if you see one person in a vest, they're like kind of, no, not to offend anybody, but they're kind of like cockroaches. Where you see one, there's a bunch just right in the area, and you just have to wait a little bit. I see them not all the time. Sometimes I go to the park and don't see them, but they're there 70% of the time. Yeah. The question was, are you aware of the social clubs?
Not how do you feel about them.
Not how do you feel about them, or relate them to an invasive species of bug that eats your food and like scatters everywhere.
What rodent can you compare them to?
Right. I thought the analogy was pretty accurate. Why is your phone yelling at you?
I sat on my phone and I think I engaged Siri. Sorry. Poor Siri.
And so to me right away it hurt my feelings.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had good conversations with this lady. She was like, hey, I hope you have a good time with your kid. And then just to use that quote in relation to me being a critic of the social clubs is inaccurate.
I agree.
The question was, are you aware of them? Yeah, because they're kind of like cockroaches. They're kind of just all over the place. It wasn't an insult.
Right.
It was just the first dumb thing. And I think what happened is, it's because I saw that cockroach in the garage.
Ew.
like that same like
homie?
week or whatever. We just had one. They're gone now.
Well, just wait.
never
There's
just
more
one.
around.
We have a whole social club in our garage. But I think that's what came to me because I think we had that same conversation where if you see one,
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was rude. I was like, that's already going to make me look really bad, and that's not what I meant. That's not what the question was. That's not the context I said that in.
Yes, I agree.
So after that, she says, quote, Jason is an adult Disneyland superfan.
Also,
I'm not even gonna say what that makes you sound like, but I told you what that sounds
Now-
like.
seriously.
Now, okay, clearly I'm an adult.
Right.
Clearly, because of my voice. You've heard my voice at this point. So in my opinion, the only reason to point out that I am an adult Disneyland superfan is to make me look like a weirdo.
It's to degrade
Yes.
you a little bit.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't point out that Jake or Roxy were adults at all, but they pointed out that Jason, the critic of the social club's supposed critic, is an adult. Is an adult. Let's put it that way.
You're an
adult super
fan.
Right. Second,
It's never going to be
You
a
that
super
into
fan, but-
Disney though? Like, is there a difference between being a Disneyland fan versus a Disney fan?
there is. I'm not a Disney fan. Well, I'm not a super Disney fan like the IP. I'm not a super Disney fan. Okay, so let me read her quote again. Jason is an adult Disneyland super fan. And again, what I said was company. I'm not a super Disney fan like the Disney fan. Well, I'm not a super Disney fan. I'm not a super Disney fan. So somehow I believe this was twisted around in her head to be I am a Disneyland super fan. I don't know how this happened, but that is now what I am. I am an adult Disneyland. I am barely an adult.
You actually sound creepier than Ichabod Crane right now. So.
Like, that is the creepiest description.
Got any
Yeah.
teaching jobs or dance classes I could take? Here, let's finish out this quote because I don't remember what it was. Like the IP, Walt Disney Company, all the movies. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. I haven't seen a majority of the Disney movies. I don't watch like the Disney shows. I don't do it. I'm a Disneyland fan and a Disney World fan. Not
Fan.
super fan. Fan. A Disney World was cool, but I've only been once. It was, yes, there's definitely a difference in being a Disneyland fan versus like a Disney IP fan. For me, being a Disneyland fan is you're into the history. You're into, this is a park that Walt walked around in, that Walt had been dreaming of for 20 years before he built it. Like it's a place for families. It had a purpose, and it's always changing. And it's kind of like you're being on a movie set, and it's really cool. But I don't care really about Mickey Mouse or whatever. It's not. Whatever.
That sounds like a super fan to me. I don't know about you.
Super fan. Now I will point out, no offense to Jake, but Jake got preferential treatment. I'm just going to say right now. I'm kidding. But they
No, but
point
he
out
did.
in Jake's segments, Jake is not a Disney fan, but he likes Disneyland.
Literally, I think that is what they say verbatim.
The same thing that I just literally said. No, Jake probably said it too, but I only got, at this point,
You
8
got-
seconds of audio.
Adult super Disneyland fan.
God.
I mean, I feel that they're just telling a story, and every story has to have a bad guy.
The next thing she says, he spends a lot of time in the park.
So bad.
Meanwhile, and this is all in my intro, right? And this is like the same sentence. So I'm really breaking this down, which thank God that I didn't have a whole lot of time because you guys would have been born out of your minds. Meanwhile, I told her that I haven't been to the park in a year. And I used to go a lot more often, and lately over the years, we've tailored it down. I don't spend a lot of time in the park. And if anybody had ever told me, I think you spend a lot of time in the park, I'd be like, not really. I don't at all.
Right.
I mean, we go a couple times a year, and that's kind of it. That's not a lot, quote unquote, of time.
Not compared, especially to the other people in the.
Especially to the other people in the interview.
Yeah.
She didn't point out that they spend a lot of time in the parks. Only when it makes me look stupid. So he spends a lot of time in the park, and he doesn't like social clubs. Nowhere, and I mean nowhere, did I ever say I don't like the social clubs. Nowhere in this hour-and-a-half interview that I have on record did I ever say I don't like them.
Also, it would be absolutely stupid for you to say that because we are one.
Yes.
In fact, in the interview, I talk about how the majority of the clubs are fine. I have only ever interacted with a few, and it's fun to go and try and point them out. And here, I will play this now.
I mean, so much of what these groups are is built around the
This is like a 2-minute clip, so buckle the seatbelts.
idea that they are the most Disney or have the most appreciation for this thing that you're all trying to celebrate.
Yeah, I think that there are some clubs who do that. I think that there also are clubs that are just there to have, quote, a good time. I think that there are clubs that are there just to have a good time. I also think that are clubs that are, this is me talking now live, that there are also clubs there that that go to prove that they're the most Disney, which I was agreeing with her assertion of that.
Right,
That wasn't
she
my
said it.
assertion. That was her assertion. But again, everybody, that's a recording playing now. He's there to have a good time. So once your good time interferes with my good time, neither of us are now having a good time. So your intent for being here, your purpose for being here is now invalid. So,
And for you, just seeing them walking around in their vests is enough to infringe on the good time?
cool leading question. Way to bait me. Sorry, Sarah. I'm too smart for you. Play. No, I'm not saying that. But
Okay.
just like if they're yelling or being raucous,
Causing a scene.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I notice more about again. The majority of the social clubs are probably fine. The majority are probably fine. It's fine. I don't know because I haven't interacted with the majority. Play. I've only interacted with a few of them. I've only seen maybe a handful of them. It's always kind of fun to go to the park and be like, oh, I've never seen that one before. Never seen that one before, but I've seen these people. I think the majority of them are families. I think that I know there's at least one. I can't remember the name, but they're just 4 people. 2 kids and a dad and a mom, and they just go to the park and they have the vest on and they're just hanging out. That's totally fine. I think it's weird that they have the vest and all that kind of stuff, but whatever. But there's large groups of 50, 25 people who come to the park together and they do everything together in the park. And one person will go and hold their space in line for a ride. And then they'll text, okay, everybody, we're almost there. And then the whole rest of the social club will come in and not cut, I guess, because you're holding a place in line technically. But you get 24 more people pile in front of you. That's going to piss off everybody else behind you. And that's the kind of behavior that casts social clubs in a bad name. So you can pick up all the trash you want, but if you're cutting in line with people. And they see that, and then they see you as a representative of that club, they're going to think all the clubs are like that. And the thing just kind of snowballs. That's it. That's what I said. I mean, that's not the thing, but that's the clip. That was what I had told her. So if she was trying to then suddenly turn this interview or turn this premise, I guess, of the show into a defense of social clubs, why wasn't that used? Why wasn't that part used?
I agree.
Like this is the prop. Like the assertion was, are there gangs in Disneyland? Essentially, and my assertion of playing off stuff that I've seen and people I've interacted with online, saying, hey, this is why we don't like social clubs, is because they do these things that we don't like. Mm-hmm. That's why. Why wouldn't you say that and then follow that thread and actually make an informed decision, investigate
journalism?
Yeah, but instead it just turned it into this weird fluff piece about how this one group of women get ready for the park and they put on glitter. And to me, I thought it was really boring. Everyone sounded really nice. Everyone was cool. But if I had known that was the episode, and if I was just Joe listener, I wouldn't listen to it because I didn't find it really engaging. But apparently Sarah and the people at Business Insider did.
I just think that if they had just changed the name to Social Clubs, are they really that bad?
Yeah, that's like a Simpsons episode.
That would have been
more appropriate.
That's just what it just call it what it is.
Yeah. And also, here, let's drive the point home even more. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, there's
Not the scariest image.
right, not the scariest image, and and I think
I don't know
maybe
what
that's
they were
why I can understand the social club scene for a little bit, because it is very inclusive, and we all want to feel that way. Like I said, we're pack animals. You know what I mean? We want to feel like we're part of a group. And I don't have a problem really with the social club scene in general. I don't have a problem with the social club scene in general. But yet Sarah asserts that I don't like the social clubs.
Calm down, superfan.
It's just the outfit that they wear intimidates people, and I feel like gives them a sense of superiority. So then they feel comfortable acting out when they do. Again, not everybody's that way. Not all social clubs are terrible, but there are a few that have been in the news because of how terrible they are. I mean, you got to be pretty bad if you're getting news articles written about you, you know? And that's accurate, because there have been news articles written about fights and club stuff for years. It's not a new thing.
And it's not just one club.
It's not just one club. It's numerous clubs, and this has happened. And again, like with any group of people, you're going to have one or two people doing something to draw attention. And that was the point of what I was saying in a couple clips ago, whichever one it was, where if you do something incorrect, you are now the center of not only your club, but social clubs in general. And then that's how they get a bad name. For the most part, excuse me, the clubs are great. Clubs are great. But there are people who make them out to be something that they're not.
You're right.
I don't know. You sound very intimidated by
I
them.
just think that this whole your 10 seconds of audio don't need to be included. Like, it doesn't add or take away from
Correct.
that fluff piece.
Correct.
Like, it is what it is.
They could
start to finish, with you there or without you. I mean,
They could have
honestly,
made that assertion and done all of the interviews, because Roxy had a story. Jake, to be honest with you, kind of, I don't know if he played my role necessarily, but he talked about like doing ride takeovers, and he was like, it doesn't mean anything to anybody, but when you have 175 people on the ride, yeah, it's going to piss people off.
Yeah.
That's enough. Yeah. That's enough for the quote unquote journalists and quote unquote reporters and quote unquote podcasters. Not some bloody intern. Like, first of all, if you have an intern running your show's terrible anyway. But that's enough for them to follow that thread and play it out and edit it together.
Totally.
Maybe they don't have a good editor.
Yeah.
Anyway, I said clearly, I say it intimidates people. Not me, people. I never said anywhere that I'm intimidated by the social clubs. I was asked to come on the program to talk about how the clubs fit into the larger Disney mentality. That's the point of the story. That's where I was coming from that clip. She continues. He doesn't think they are gangs, and he doesn't believe the online naysayers. I don't know kind of what that means. I think believe the online naysayers of people who don't like the clubs.
I don't know.
But yet I don't. But I thought
I don't get it.
I thought I didn't like the clubs. So now I don't really kind of understand what she's talking about. But we never talked about the online representation of what people think the clubs are. Because I believe them. If you tell me that you got bumped into and cussed at by a guy wearing a vest and a patch, I'll believe you. If you tell me that you were waiting in line for the men's room with your 2 kids and you had 25 people all wearing the same cut, literally cut in line and use the urinals before you guys and then leave and drunkenly smash a paper towel roll, I'll believe you. I will believe you, because that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah.
That sounded very specific.
It is very specific.
It is.
We have a friend who that actually happened
It
to.
is.
And we've had other shows on social clubs, and I've gotten emails from listeners say, yeah, I've had this interaction with these people and these people and these people, and it's terrible, and I don't like it. So that's where I was coming from with this. Again, it's not that I don't like social clubs. I say that very clearly, that I actually like them. It's just there's whatever. So she continues, when he sees the social clubs in Disneyland, he does find a lot of them intimidating. Again, never asked if I was intimidated, never talked about me being intimidating. I said the outfits can be intimidating to many people. Again, speaking on the topic to which I was asked to participate in, which is how the clubs are viewed. Then she uses a quote of mine, something like, the tough act mentality doesn't belong, but I think I already played. Did I already play that one?
No.
I don't think so.
It's a long one, and no one cares about it. I don't. That's see, these are good questions, and I don't know how to answer them entirely.
I'm glad you think so.
They're very challenging. What does it have to do with the social clubs? I don't know that it necessarily has to do anything with it.
Understanding or this knowledge or this feeling or kind of this thing that we have our finger on that Disneyland is to so many people, does that do anything to help you understand where they're coming from?
No, because you don't need the social club scene to have a good time at Disneyland. I think there is more of a performance art really with the social clubs than it is an accurate representation of the people within the clubs. You're definitely putting on a show, and maybe it's because they feel comfortable in Disneyland. I mean, Disneyland works very hard to make you feel comfortable. There's no worries. Besides spending money. But, you go there to have a good time. And so if you're already having a good time, you're already feeling good, I think there is a little showboating that goes on while wearing the vests. Or else, if there's not, why would you be so highly visible? Why do you need the vest to feel like you're part of a group? But why Disneyland? I don't know. Maybe it's that juxtaposition again of here's a family place, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and everybody else, and everyone's having a good time, and it's all sunny. And then here's the biker gang mentality coming through, like you're trying to be tough to show that you don't care about baby stuff like everybody else does, like you're an adult. I don't know. Maybe that's a little mean spirited, but the social club thing kind of rubs me the wrong way, and I guess I can't really put my finger on it because there's a lot of different ways that there's a lot of things I don't like about it, and it's that tough act. It's that tough act mentality in a place that's literally designed for families to have fun together, doing the same thing. It doesn't fit. It doesn't belong. It's not welcome. That last part, that last like 5 seconds was my clip. But that whole 2 minutes leading up to it, I think, puts it in a different context than it was being used. Because I think it's accurate. I think there is a performance art thing. That's why people spend so much money on the patches. That's why they look so good, because you're out there, you're doing your thing, and I think it is not always representative of the people within the group.
And I think what helps you and hurts you in this interview is that you're coming to this from a very educated perspective, and I've never actually said the words very educated and you in the same thing, but like you did your research about social clubs, like you've paid attention to them, you've seen them in the parks, but then I think you also like really focused on like what they sort of stand for and what they. Am I making sense? Like
yeah,
like I think you know. I don't want to say you know a lot about it because that's way too complimentary, but
yeah, that'd be terrible.
But you do you did your research before you spoke to this person about the topic, and I think I think it kind of hurt you.
You thought a lot about what you were going to say.
Exactly.
Well, in this, I'm kind of just spitballing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's a matter of preparation as far as what you're going to say to her. I think it was preparation and as far as what we are going to be as a social club. Because I think that you've seen the negative either through news articles that have been written or people that we've interviewed in the past and things like that, where we have seen both sides of the coin. And when you say it, you can say from experience, from all the years of experience going there, you know what? There's a lot of people who are part of this who just want to go there to have a good time. There's also a lot of people who are part of this because for some reason you have now this gang mentality where you own this area or you own this park and you can do what you want, and that does not belong in this park that was created to be something that's fun for you to escape from the real world. You know, if you want to be part of that gang mentality, literally go out into Anaheim where you'll find the gang.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't belong inside of the berm.
Well, right, and especially because, and like I said in the quote, which is what they used, it was made literally for families.
Exactly.
And so people don't like it. I don't understand that kind of thing, but I'm not intimidated and I don't hate it.
Right.
Well, and
that's the point.
What I really didn't like about that quote that they used in there was they made it sound like you were attacking their looks.
Correct. When I clearly wasn't.
Right.
And that whole 2 minutes leading up to that was proof of that.
Right. Like these people don't belong because they look like that. That's what it came across as in their podcast.
But then that statement sets up the rest of their.
It's their assertion.
Their
right.
whole the whole point of that
It's
whole
true.
podcast of
That's what I think.
sparkles and glitter.
So
Yeah.
now they cut Roxy in again, and Sarah makes the assertion that any issues between clubs and guests used to stay in the park. So it was only a park thing, so nobody heard about it, right? And then she says that lawsuit that's pending, and we've talked about before on the show, was the catalyst for all this hate for clubs going online. 100% not true.
No.
And if she did any research at all, you just Google it. There are loads of articles about violence in the parks done by, for, and on social clubs.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
It's been happening. So to brush it under the rug and say, oh, suddenly it was this explosion because of this lawsuit, that's categorically false.
Exactly.
That is 100% not true. Clubs have been interfering with people's good times at the park for literally years. I mean, that story that I told you, well, but that's not a news thing, but yeah. And then Roxy talks about after that article came out, people would call the club's names, and that made her feel bad. And I can understand that because it definitely seems like she's very attached to her club. And that's cool. She talked to them and asked if any of the clubs did anything to them, and they would say no. And then she says something about the folks that hate on clubs think that they look like thugs. And she says, quote, I send them a picture of my group, and I'm like, really? We look like thugs? Are you serious? I was not aware that gangsters wore so much glitter. Then Sarah says, which, first of all, she says that right after, this is after my
what you
stuff.
say.
Which is the one quote that I think makes you look like the biggest douche ever.
It makes me look, because, and it's not only what I said, but it's what Sarah sets up before my interview,
Right.
is that I'm intimidated by the clubs.
Right.
Right.
So saying that I'm intimidating, and 8 seconds later playing this clip where she's like, really, gangsters wear glitter? You're intimidated by that? And then she kind of floats on to the next segment. And it's like, that
Can't do that.
pissed me off
Tool.
to no end. And then Sarah says, for Roxy, the reasons the Bangarang Babes exist, the reason that social clubs exist, is to remind people that there's magic in the world.
See,
Which
Go
is
for it.
incorrect.
you're absolutely right. It is. No, you know what I'll say? I'll say this about Roxy's social club.
Yeah.
I will say this because listening to the article, and,
I will listen.
and see. No, I'm just saying, listening to the article and seeing what they do, I completely agree. I think that's why the Bangarang Babes exist. Just so people, it's something for you to see, and you see it, and you're immediately like, that's awesome.
Well, and it's cool, and if you listen to the show, you get that perspective from Roxy about how that
Absolutely.
happened, and kind of, and that part was fine. That part was okay. It's like, oh, that's cool. That's how you started your club, but it has nothing to do with if they're a gang or not.
Right.
Obviously,
Right.
if you wear glitter, nobody's going to be intimidated. But like, that's not the point of why people don't like clubs.
Right.
Which was the assertion in the first place, which is what
Exactly.
I was asked to speak on.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
So, in my opinion, to me, this is what happened: poor producing.
Okay.
100%.
When I was interviewed, it was still sort of like loosey-goosey. Like I said, they weren't really sure if it's going to be about the clubs or about reasons Disneyland is so culturally important. But again, in my opinion, what I think happened is the producers wanted to be like Criminal or Lore or an actual popular podcast, and that they changed the narrative to a story about I honestly don't really know what the point of the story is. They had like 3 or 4 threads that they could have chased down and tied together, and they didn't do any of that. If it was a story about Roxy, it should have started that way. If it was a story about clubs and how they have altercations with guests, then the story should have finished that way.
Right.
But what it did was sort of meander and lose focus, switching to a group of people and how they get ready for the parks. There were no interviews with guests, no research done on articles, forums, social media posts about clubs, and the terrible experiences some people have had with small groups of clubs.
Right.
That was the story.
Right.
That was the assertion. That was the title of the stupid show. But they needed a big bad. They needed somebody willing to go on record and say something negative, just something. And then to make me look worse, they put Roxy's glitter quote right after me and right after the false statement of fact that I am intimidated by clubs to make her point in hard. I'm not intimidated by it. I'll fight anybody. Let's go. Right now. I'm
You
kidding.
didn't fight the dude at Trader Sam's on New Year's Eve. You ain't gonna fight nobody.
Well, he asked me to come out, and I said, no, I don't want to. I laughed at him. I told him no. And he went and sat at the bar and stared at me. I had a good time.
Was he wearing a cut though? That's the question.
No, but he was like some Tool greaser dude, like, you know, hair slick
Very
back
LA.
70s, like, yeah, like Stray Cats are coming back around. Don't you want to go? Shut up. I got it on vinyl. Cool. So did my grandpa. Anyway, that's the show. So look, if you guys want to listen to it, you can. If you want to rate it, please go and rate it. If you think it's a 1, rate it a 1. If you think it's a 5, rate it a 5. I honestly don't care, but I really do think that it was kind of a bad pot. Me out of it aside, if I had just gone through and listened to it, I would have got to the end and be like, I don't know. Actually, wouldn't have finished it because I almost didn't.
It was very difficult.
I didn't.
Yeah,
Well,
Bev did, and I honestly, I would
was
be like,
10
this
minutes
is.
left and I couldn't.
I don't know what this is about. This was
Right.
a waste of 36 minutes. So, you know,
So I was angry.
that's what I think. It's my opinion.
I was angry listening to how you were cut in and about all of those same things that you were angry about. But one thing that really upset me about this, about listening to this podcast, was when she was talking about the lawsuit, the impending lawsuit.
Yeah.
She actually admits that she didn't. She's talking to her producer on the podcast,
Right.
and she admits that she didn't have any details about the lawsuit.
So I heard that, and the host, which is weird because like to let your intern do most of the narration, and you're the host. You're not
it's
really the
weird.
host. Like
was
the
very
whole
weird.
thing. He says that you didn't find any proof of that, or you didn't see any proof of what was alleged in the lawsuit. And she said no because she hung out with him. But it's like, well, yeah, of course you didn't.
You're not a lawyer.
Well,
You're
also,
not on the trial.
it doesn't mean that it didn't happen because you didn't see it actively happening for one day, dummies.
Right.
Like, that's not how life... Anyway, so this is what I wrote to Sarah in response to her show. Hey, Sarah, thanks for sending that link along. I had a chance to listen to it. I am not happy with the way my segment went. To say that I spend a lot of time in the parks is not correct, nor is the comment that I'm intimidated by social clubs. I think that one in particular was way out of context. Blah, blah, blah. To have my comments capped out by Roxy, yada, yada, yada. I've already talked to you guys about that. To put those two comments together like that does not come from a space of reporting, just sensationalism. The premise of the show was to investigate gangs in Disneyland, but it was more about how people get ready to go to the parks than anything else. There was no effort made to interview guests or anyone who's ever had an interaction with unsavory clubs to talk about the other side of the conversation, and instead was a piece about this one particular club and how happy they were, how they are a family. Nobody is uncomfortable with that. What makes guests at the park not like the club scene is, well, everything else that we talked about. If you look hard enough, you can find subjects to confirm one side of any argument, and in this case, it was Roxy and her club. I was really looking forward to listening to the show, but I must say I'm pretty disappointed in how it came out. And then I asked her to remove my segment. I didn't want to be a part of the stupid show at all.
I don't blame you.
And she says, thanks for listening and responding so fully. I really appreciate your feedback, and I'm especially grateful that you took the time to be specific. Whatever. Anyway, she says, this is the best part. We just reread the transcript of your interview, and the parts we paraphrased are backed up by quotes. So they admit that they paraphrased. But they paraphrased incorrectly. And I don't know how they were able to reread the transcript and still assert that they were telling the truth. So we don't see any factual errors. And then I just went through it again, and I hadn't heard anything else. So that was 8 days ago. So again, listen to the show if you want. If you want to listen to bad podcasts, go for it, and let them know that it's terrible, or let them know that you like it. I don't really care. Are we done?
I was just gonna say
Show me.
about
Tell me. Talk to
about
me.
this particular podcast. It reminded me of another podcast that I listen to and enjoy quite a bit, but it also makes me wonder if I can or cannot trust that podcast anymore based upon
Oh, yes.
like how these things are edited together. Like, it really makes me concerned about the things that I've enjoyed in the past. Am I just getting
true.
somebody else's, like
That's kind of why I don't like...
I'm kind of disappointed. Like, it reminds me of Serial. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say it reminds me of Serial, and I really first season, but
Right. That second season was a dog turd, man.
Everybody feels the same way.
Jeez.
but
Let's rehash something that happened 20 years ago that nobody remembers. Let's go.
but
And do it really dully.
it's just I don't know if I can listen to that anymore.
Yeah.
And I also don't know if I can listen to that anymore without being minded of this, in my opinion, dog turd.
Well, and that's why I kind of like our format of our show. I don't like the pre-recorded, pre-produced stuff. I don't like it because you don't get the, and especially when you're doing reporting. I don't know. I feel like if you're reporting, and I'm beating this dog to death, and we'll stop after this. But like, if you're doing a report on a thing, and the person that you quote as your big bad says you have actually made errors, wouldn't you have a conversation? I gave her my phone number again. I was like, dude, give me a call. Let's talk about it because you were doing this incorrectly. And they just said no and moved on. Like that's not journalism. That's not there's no integrity there. So forget about it. I think that they're garbage, and they just wanted the headline. That's why they named the show "Gangs in Disneyland" and wrote the thing. And that's not. And even in their synopsis, they are implying that there's like a twist and a fairy tale ending. No, it wasn't. There's nothing fairy tale about it. It was just
it was fluff.
Yeah, everyone was friends. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I don't know.
Are we done?
I think so.
I was going to do news, but I don't want to.
Yeah, we've been going for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry that you went through that. That sucks.
It was dumb because honestly, see, Taryn, I was done, and then you got me started. What pisses me off even more is that I spent 2.5 hours of my life with this lady. I did her work in research for her, and I recorded my voice and sent it to her. I did her job. And then I'm telling her that what she said was wrong and she's misinterpreting what I'm saying. She didn't agree with me. She didn't even give me the decency or the courtcy for a phone call.
That's ridiculous.
That's what pisses me off the most.
Yeah.
So anyway, also, I told her, I forgot about this. I told her I have a social club. I told her I started a social club. Actually, I forgot to even play that clip. She laughed at the whole time. I told her the whole concept.
Yeah.
So for her to assert that I'm intimidated by social clubs is insane because I have one. It's like I'm too scared to drive, but I own 12 cars. It makes no sense.
Whatever.
Terrible.
This has been Ears Up Podcast, everybody. We're going to do a secret show for October. October. I don't have the energy, I think, to like do it on a live stream right now. I'm worn out from being mad. But Taryn and I are going to the parks next week. Bev's going to the park next week, too. And Terrence, I think, is going like 2 weeks.
You guys get back on like a Sunday or a Thursday? I go on Sunday.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, man. Just 2 ships passing in the night.
Oh, bummer.
That train has sailed.
So anyway, that'll be cool. So our next show back will be just kind of a trip recap. And definitely Taryn and I are going to spend a lot of time explaining how great it was to go with a kid for the first time. No, but I think it will be really interesting for people who are in my position. Our position, who have a kid who are maybe nervous, excited to go to Disneyland, what we did, what we couldn't do, how hard it was, switch pass stuff, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
We'll run through that on the next show of Ears Up Podcast. Until then, everyone, we'll see you in the parks.